Introduction. First thing is first, the better you allow yourself to feel, the easier it is to reach the higher quality of consciousness you were meant to possess. The keyword is allow, because we are gifted with the ability to allow ourselves of anything we can think of, but the trick is to only allow what allows you or enables you to grow, heal and expand your life experiences prosperously and wisely, that is through compassion and not fear. Fear only navigates you to your lower self, whereas compassion, love, navigates you to your higher self. The best thing about it is that you don't need to put any extra focus, because your inner being, ever since you agreed to come into the physical realm, has been focusing on being this higher quality of self. Now, since we are in the ether of the physical experiences and manifestations, good nor bad, we tend to hold on to experiences, thoughts, beliefs and emotions that put a limiting resistance between what we experience daily in relation to who we really are. We tend to lose who we were meant to be by holding on to thoughts, beliefs and emotions, and being around a company that produce a quality of lowering of self. By keeping your focus and care on how you feel, which logically, naturally, should be free, peaceful, compassionate, joyful, inspired to be creative and satisfied about your individual life experience, you are allowing yourself to reach a more impersonal higher quality of self, and this is the authentic empowering and expansion of inner self as well as identity. Expansion of self is for the most, what we came on this physical reality to do. If you do not allow yourself to expand spiritually, mentally and emotionally in each experience, on a daily, you create an energy blockage that will end with you feeling stuck or worse, not accepting the purpose of life which you came here for. This book serves to remind people who we really are, our impersonal self, who we are personally, and how to continue expanding our quality of consciousness, on which directions and in essence the quality of life as well as of self. This is actually not an easy task to do, because you have to be brutally honest with yourself and you must be realistic. You have to first respect the needs of your soul, because it is always focused on what you really need in the midst of what looks like a need to the physical counterpart of self. Needs of the soul are of infinite value but not so extravagant. For example, peace and compassion brings a satisfying quality experience of moments in life, because it is easy to appreciate life and receive inspiration to create something with ease and exhilaration in those states of emotion. Being who we are depends on our ability to control and manipulate our own energy and consciousness, that is, to activate and apply the ability to have the non-resistance to our emotional well-being, as well as our own individual spiritual growth and intentions. It is natural with the inner self, because all it knows is creative and compassionate use of energy and consciousness to heal and expand, to reach its wholeness, oneness, that is to say full growth and maturation that also always reflects itself in almost every fundamental cycle on this physical reality. The reflection starts within ourselves in the non-physical, to the outside world, the physical, then it goes back to the non-physical. Full circle. Look at how seeds grow to be full trees with mature fruits, or look at how an egg and semen relationship does its works, forming a physical full-grown human species from non-physical, a micro level of life and existence. It takes a great deal of control to one's thoughts and emotions to reach a higher quality or order of self, and in this book you will receive an insight on how to effortlessly cultivate a full control to one's thoughts, beliefs and emotions, and it is also how this book will help you align yourself mentally, especially emotionally and spiritually, with who you really are. Being your genuine self has more to do with emotional well-being and spiritual growth, because that is where we often lose our balance and the connection to our potential energy to co-create and enjoy life, as well as to be inspired, creative and productive, and most importantly to have a connection and compassion for life. The truth is that life itself is always beautiful, revering, compassionate and always working out for each and everything that exists. It serves its purpose in helping us to experience reality and to reach full maturation, manifestation and wholesomeness, that is say to full-blown awareness of the expansion of consciousness and energy of self, one person, every individual soul, and all that is in existence, both in physical and spiritual world, the physical and non-physical manifestations and experiences of each individual. Our current biological end product of all human experience, whereby now the soul can intervene so that it can allow itself, intellectually through inspiration or fear, to balance the most higher self from over-maturation or expansion, even the lack of it, that leaves you, individuals that are within the overall perimeter of its experience, emotionally and biologically off balance. Emotion is the essence that the universe picks up as us, individually as requests, to get more expansion, abundance, of it, like neurons activating in the human brain as a signal for contacting, connecting to, each other, and that is why the universe always gives us more of that which we dwell on emotionally, but firstly mentally, because the control of thoughts is all there is to begin with. If only we had carried on the focus that we left with from the spiritual world, the focus to heal, to co-create with the universe, to create and to inspire people including ourselves, to be free, compassionate and very much well at every moment, and to achieve that without any extra effort, focus to push through struggle and pain, because even lack, pain, fear or struggling, is an illusion. It is a dynamic that the universe uses to propel us in its, God's, spirit, individually as souls, compassionately to better adventures. Associates and momentary experiences expanding gradually, and in proportion to the feedback, essence we mentioned earlier, that you are, to help you co-create and expand towards and beyond whatever it is you desire, to be able to reach out, live and paradigmatically shift to an equivalent, higher quality or order or energy of self. A higher surplus of life experience. Honor your life, honor the existence and the universe. Be compassionate about existence because it is always bringing experiences of value in our lives and being compassionate towards us and all that is in the process. It is always doing exactly that, hence we become off balance when our essence, thoughts, emotions, decisions, and intentions causes us to perceive life with the scope of fear and misery instead of compassion, joy and appreciation. You might hack another person's mind through their livelihood patterns, but with the universe it is different because you get more of what you think and feel you are from the universe. And our beliefs shape who we are. Babies are a great example to adults for how we should approach life and its experiences, whether good nor bad, as we reach maturation. We should keep the sweetness, creativity and livelihood we had as kids within us and also sharing compassionately with others that part of ourselves, and should never hold to anything that causes emotional resistances, or wait for something accidental to happen, because we were created with the ability to expand and break through anything. It might occur to be a long or painful journey at first glance, but your inner being has finished the race already outside time and space, and all the important tasks in the spiritual world. And is waiting for you, encouraging you to take your time and expand, that is, to risk more, take adventures more, experience more and create more with compassion. This current phase of life is a newer experience of co-creation, re-establishment and a whole new level of expansion of the soul. It is a physical manifestation of the dynamics through which the Creator uses to propel the self, heal the self and advance the self. We might look at ourselves as individuals, but in reality we, and all that exists, belong to, and are, the one and almighty self. We are like cells in the human body. Each and every microorganism in our body has a purpose beneficial to our physical self, to serve our health and vitality, for us to be well. Although we have no manual direct communication with each individual cell, yet the more the cells work together to heal a part of the body, the more feedback, the more we feel the change. The feeling is the same essence the Creator identifies us, as individuals with, to know which parts of His self that need healing. This is a momentary experience. It might seem like regular days of our lives, but the healing and expansion dynamics are always in play till the end of time, where we will go back to our oneness with everything. Nevertheless, to make the picture bigger and clearer, we are like genetics inside of a single cell. Without us life won't happen, and without life, we will not. Copyright 2020 by Thapalo, Dips Dipudi. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced by any mechanical, photographic, electronic process, or in any form of photographic recording, nor may it be stored in a retrieval system, transmitted, or otherwise be copied for public or private use, other than for fair use, as brief quotations embodied in articles and reviews, without prior permission of the publisher at Hippie XY. The author of this book does not dispense medical advice or prescribe the use of any technique as a form of treatment for physical, medical and emotional problems without advice from a physician, either directly or indirectly. The intent of this author is only to offer information of a general nature to help you in your quest for emotional and spiritual well-being. In the event you use any of the information in this book for yourself, which is your constitutional right, the author and the publisher assume no responsibility for any of your actions. Self-actualization category. Table of contents. Chapters 1 to 10. 1. The Grand Illusion. 2. Co-creation. 3. Compassion. 4. Abundance. 5. Imagination, the non-physical dynamic. 6. Soul cleansing. 7. The self. 8. The inner being. 9. The vortex. 10. Tuning in. Enjoy reading the book. Feelers. Chapter 1. The Grand Illusion. This has to be that one piece that just happens to not fit well within the realistic depiction of the physical, as we currently know it, the logical way of perceiving reality, due to the expanding nature of this illusion over time. It happens to make people forget who they are, and what they come from. This illusion stems from the fact that people are running from who they innately are, their vibrational center, the center and sense of presence, to who they truly are, and perhaps what they not, the emotional quality of the fullness of being alive and present. Some people only seek knowledge and power outside, from other emotionally, vibrationally negatively charged people, and in most instances through negative approaches or intentions, aka focusing on what is causing disturbance to our own individual ordinary vibration, practiced emotion, of joy. Many people prefer to seek validation from other people instead of from prompting their own hearts, so that they can navigate roots of their problems, any disturbance that occurs inside emotionally. People have a knee-jerk reaction to negative vibrations than they do with the positive. In other words, we tend to react before we can start reminding ourselves of the fullness of who we are, and that to never seek power or courage outside, instead but to just allow our emotion to stand out for how we are, not how we think we should express ourselves at moments we are prompted to. What we want is to react without being even defensive or doubtful towards our true nature, that is to speak wisdom from the heart, to avoid compulsively reacting to our thoughts and emotions. Most people somehow still do not want to relearn these evolved dynamics that are occurring on a spiritual level. For example, a person will say they don't believe in God, but they don't want to know that this life and all of its context is God, in days that you feel good and in days you are not. The main reason is usually because they are having a hard time in life and they just cannot accept, learn, create a solution, cleanse the negative emotional charges and simply get back to life. The truth is that each and every experience we create through intention, and not from jumping in defense or launching a negative intention when something or someone wrestles with our emotional well-being, or having argument based on personal issues, beliefs and opinions, is often suggested by the soul to be partaken so that a dynamic of healing, expansion or growth, a dynamic of understanding of truth to gain wisdom, and the experiences of testing what we really know about the self, can take place in the physical world. It is the same dynamic that brings light to darkness in terms of scientific, religious and spiritual quotations and contexts, at least on the third level dimension. Especially in such situations, where one goes through an enlightening, awakening experience, there lies a prosperous learning dynamic between one or two, even several souls to serve to balance each other's light outwards and to expand if need be to the soul's desires. Our universal idea, contract to manifest physically, that is to open windows of perception, to co-create a platform for others of independence, freedom, liberation, understanding and growth, through their own individual, genuine and deliberate intentions and launches of desires. So that, for example, if a lost soul can't accept this task, then a piece of itself goes into darkness, confusion, a period of fear or uncertainty until another opportunity to let the light take part again, that is, to go through an experience whereby they to reckon something negative, fear for example, about themselves, then to accept it as a problem to be fixed. Could be depression or just anger, money, health issues or failing relationships. The illusions start to dissolve as you get to understand the situations, people and more especially the soul, your own, for what it really is at any moment in time. The most wisest thing you can do as a human is to be aware of the emotional charges you reflect in the little things you think, say and do about everything else. Literally, as we grow it matters more. This is how and why we still, somewhere, in a little village where it's all minimal and modest, find 100-plus-year-olds, healthy as it can be, because all they do, say and think is what they compassionately partake in. Checking on your emotional charges every often will help you so much with your physiological and biological well-being, as you claim so much life back by doing so, plus especially when you remember the important step of letting go of past emotional traumas and thought patterns that might keep reoccurring so that you can be fully present, and as consciously compassionate and active, more importantly, healthy, happy, fulfilled, satisfied, as you can ever be. This life is made to be with so much a sense of peace, compassion, inspiration and prosperity for a purpose, and in order for us to co-create the physical manifestations of our core, heartfelt vibration, of what we call the emotion of love, compassion, wholeness, while looking and facing at it, each and every day. Is it not obvious now? From a multisensory, non-physical point of view it might as well be, as of now, that all we are here for is to compassionately connect with all of nature's delight in the brink of this falling light of conscious activity called life. To be present at all times and for all beings and to have the best of both worlds, physical and the none, without attachment to any. And with lovely regards to all, is the key to destroying the illusion of negative vibrations, fear, doubt, worry etc. All are just one frequency band of thought that we get lost into on a lower level, then end up having to detach from life only to come back afresh to try again and again. This illusion is one of the main reason we keep coming back in a form of reincarnation instead of to continually expand and create more newer experiences that go in our favors both as individuals and all as a collective, as well as both in the physical and the spiritual realms. It is time for change. Chapter 2. Co-creation. This is, if not the purpose, then it is one of the purposes in life. Look at it, just how co-creation brings out the best in the consciousness of each and every individual that practices this quality. Co-creation brings a multiplication in terms of consciousness, awareness, because now the quality of consciousness of individuals partaking in the experience will double or start to raise above average, above comfort, confirmation, and identity plus capabilities of what has been the limits. Assuming that you are operated with such a mindset described above, of deliberate co-creation, it would be illogical at this current point of evolution, on Earth to think and believe that there is limits to what can be created by God, that supposedly, logically includes us in the whole existence, perhaps, and beyond by now. So being alive, and then being in the conscious activity of life is both a blessing and exactly a gift. Each and every day is like a book page, and each and every transformation is like the chapter. In order to co-create, one needs a desire for and to be an inspiration. Allow yourself to be the fullness of who you are, to yourself and other beings, so that you can experience such expanding qualities of consciousness, energy, beingness, and appreciation for life. It is easy to pick up vibrations, thoughts, knowledge, wisdom and ideas from the ether when you open up to the inspiration that is constantly being offered always to you, us all, but now you also have to go under a process of mastering how to properly use these qualities, each of them, when faced with the opportunities to. This is how the journey to full prosperity is being navigated to you by your inner being, so you need a lot of inner peace and a little bit of patience for you to reach greener pastures, so, Godspeed, good luck to you fellow. By now, if you can look at it, life, realistically, so to speak, you will notice that every check move, remarkable creation, innovation and advancement, e.g., technology, AI, we have made as the human civilization, has developed from the ideas of companionship, massive co-creation, and as we speak now, we are reaping off the extravagant, personal, and natural, spiritual, impersonal, needs, e.g., compassion, knowledge and wisdom, of this wise move, to co-create our own creation within the nature's creation, on this frequent expansion, growing and being more, of consciousness, life, through compassion. As individuals we have the full capacity it takes to create our own reality in our minds. That is the most natural thing about being human. We need a platform that is familiar to our individual sensations, interpretations, translations and understanding, how we think things should be, what we want and what we don't, because no matter how much we'll want to become or achieve alone, life will always cause us to reach out to others for different and eventually favorable experiences or conditions, a newer level of expansion. That then helps us to evolve to higher conscious and unconscious states of awareness to enable us to co-create a better experience, a more advanced quality of life collectively, individually, and simultaneously, to reach even deeper to our innermost core vibration, which is compassion, and to bring the fullness of what it is, to this physical reality, to cultivate, a heaven, too, on earth. Chapter 3. Compassion. Belly of the Beast. Love. Compassion is a vibrational point of attraction that is in direct alignment with source of energy of creation, and it is an emotion that brings thriving dynamics to ease and appreciation. It is an emotion that brings every aspect of our being to alignment, enlightenment, massive inspirational subjects, experiences, and objects, ideas, in common hours. In other words, it brings miracles to life. It brought all of us here. For you to attract and experience this vibration you must have deep love, inner peace, safer positive belief systems that serve your growth, self-motivation and inspiration, that awakens a spirit of reverence, and brings forth realizations and understanding, between the relationship of God to man, and man to man, or simply a harmony of companionship with life. And you must trust the source to make this vibration your reality in a manner of way that brings effort down, but ease and joy on the high. In some way that makes you feel lucky, that is to say, appreciated as well by the source, universe, higher power, consciousness. All of this, being God. It is such a vital vibration or emotion to busk in the ambience of, it is so much powerful and always attracts positivity, growth and revered understanding, that is to say a person who is in this vibrational standpoint attracts back more of what it is, and they attract positive people, ideas, situations of frequent sharing, prosperity, healthy relationships and lifestyle. It is sad that, and because people are not aware of how the entirety of all this existence is backed by this vibration. Look at just our position in the cosmos. We must be placed intently and compassionately by something or some magical power in here, like a bird making a safety nest for its offsprings to hatch and be, and also nurturing them while they go under a process of full maturation to reach its quality of creativeness, so that they can be full birdies as well, chirp and sing, be creative, to finally spread their wings, fly and be free like it is. That is the cycle and beauty of life. Just look at our position in the cosmos. We are placed in an environment or planet that oddly has to be the only one with life in the whole galaxy of our location in the cosmos. We were placed here with compassion. Our purpose is profound as a specimen, and we still have to evolve more for us to reach a level of creativity that God is at. God placed us here because He believes in us to protect certain parts of Him, and judging by our position in the cosmos, we might be the immune system. We are that important to His vitality as His breath is to ours. We are in the belly of the beast. Chapter 5. Imagination. A wise man, Earl Nightingale, once said that imagination is the workshop of our mind. It is where we create most of our reality, shape and pursue our desires, and on top of that go into all specifics, and acquire all skills, through own individual path, unique ways, with ease to bring ideas and desires to real-life manifestations. Imagination is the most important faculty we have as human beings, as it enables us to envision anything, predict an outcome, and it is where we build most of the lives we live. Imagination has the ability to stimulate emotions, therefore we should be aware of the type of thoughts we imagine, because that practice alters our physiology in the long run. Most of what creates our identity and alters our behavior is our imagination. We are what we feel and imagine or think mostly of ourselves. That is why the imagination is a vital muscle of our minds. Imagination alone can drag our minds into deep states of suffering and insanity, therefore it can also propel us to unfathomable states of joy and creativity. Our reality is dependent entirely on the nature of thoughts we permit to view in our imagination over long time periods, simply because with the use of this faculty man is able to stimulate emotions, turning thoughts, ideas, impulses and desires into vibrations and emotions so that they can accumulate energy and focus to bring and wheel them into reality. We should use our imagination as wisely as possible, for the things we desire and need only, not to plot against, but to co-create a better experience for ourselves and others. We should plant seeds of visions and dreams that will open a path to more abundance and growth for us as a species, and we should imagine and expect it of ourselves to make anything possible and to achieve, succeed at, and manifest everything we desire. It is through imagination that we enable ourselves to tap into the physical sensations of our soul. That is also how we boot the mind and cleanse the emotional charges burdening us, and to free our soul, as it serves as our second reality, the sub-reality of what we perceive consciously as the present. That means multiple realities actually exist and are experienced in our biology. Whatever we project within ourselves and feel the experience of becomes exactly as this present moment is. In other words, some people are still continuing to live in the past because that is all they spend most of their time thinking about. So this implies that our lives could be infinite outside the physical domains. What we put in our imagination affect us exactly as what we perceive as real-life experiences in our biological and psychological states of being. That is why we should only imagine ourselves and our souls to be clean and joyful, not sinful, that is to not judge ourselves as well, so that we can have a creative, healthy and productive imagination for us to cleanse our souls and free ourselves from negative thoughts, desires and emotions. What we put in our imagination always find a way to manifest, whether it be good or not, whether full-blown manifestation, physical manifestation, or vibrational, emotional manifestation of the imagined experiences. It is better to stop at that before it manifests into your reality as an experience that outweighs your energies and therefore kills you or transforms you chaotically, to say the least, into a lesser figure that is going to abide universal laws and order by force, default, like trees and other things. Rocks. Indulging in thoughts and imaginations of intimacy raises the same emotions just exactly as being in the act of it. That is just one example of the dynamics and power behind imagination. It plays a huge role in planning for our lives, knowing ourselves, leveraging of the self and understanding of the universe and its patterns. Without imagination we would still be stuck and paralyzed by the seemingly uncertain nature of our life, planet and the universe. Without imagination there is no creativity, no God, there's no liberty. Things to remember always. Protect your imagination by being mindful of the emotional charges that come along with each and everything you view in your imagination or subconsciously think of. It is always best to indulge in positive and optimistic thinking. Use your imagination often, to strengthen your ability to clearly imagine things. Always imagine yourself to be happy, healthy and fulfilled, blessed, prosperous, and that shall be your reality until you eventually shift from this perception to any negative one, which is not advisable. It is the workshop of our minds. Utilize it safely and wisely. Also clean it up often. Take care of your emotions so that you can have a safe, peaceful, productive thinking and imagination. Do and practice things that allow you to express yourself easily and compassionately with wisdom gifted to you by life. Think creatively, exercise your ability to come up with ideas and concepts. Be creative and do anything, of art, that sparks interest in you. Go outside, travel and see the world. Chapter 6. Soul Cleansing. To cleanse the soul, for the most part, is to free oneself from negative thoughts, negative emotions and beliefs that don't serve a positive purpose in one's life. It has nothing to do with going for a one-on-one confession with the preacher, guru, etc., but to face the current inadequacies and what has already manifested, good and bad experiences with truth of the heart, being compassion, reverence and humbleness. Love is one of the emotions that will bring you into the center of this process, love and appreciation for life. It has the power to free the soul off any negative emotions if expressed in a way that serves this purpose. When you fall in love your life, you experience the dynamics and physical manifestations of what we call luck. When you give and share with others it becomes an abundance in your experience, you just have this good timing for prosperity. You intuitively know when to thrive, and when to be at ease. Everyone enjoys your company, being around and even only just to see you happy. They themselves feel your deservingness radiating towards them, the dynamic of what is enlightened attracting all darkness towards its light, enveloping every particle in the dark matter with its enlightened energy. A cleansed soul is a free, compassionate and exhilarated one. It is attractive to just observe such people because they are bright, full of wisdom and full of life. They live life to pursue something greater than just a paycheck and having a family. They are those that consistently seek and utilize the fullness of who they are to reach for genuine peace, love and happiness and to also help others as well. The ability to deliberately cleanse your own soul is one of the greatest ability we have as human beings, as it enables us to witness the fullness of who we are and what we are actually made of, soul energy, and to extrapolate messages, meaning and purpose of life from our own individual experiences, from our own individual level of perceptions and consciousness, awareness of life, irrespective of what we were taught by our life teachers and companions. Everyone knows the truth, all it takes is to crack the heart wide open, to revere and be compassionate with each of every experience, of the fullness of life, with no judgment or lies but the desire to learn and understand the self and the source of it all that it is, milking all the sense of it. You yourself are the master, the guru and the teacher of your life. All it takes is a little bit of transformation and totally allow life to do its part in your experience as you do every second in its experience. In other words, don't be afraid to change when life causes you to, or when you have a strong desire to change something in your experience, because best believe, it is your soul seeking for an opportunity or experiences to change or deal with a part of the self to reach a balance but now on a higher level and order of life and consciousness. Our consciousness has the ability to expose and align ourselves with parts of self within the hierarchy of higher and lower selves. Soul cleansing is basically giving up our expectations and all of the emotional baggage that come along with it, so to enable ourselves to wash over our hearts and minds with the perception of life of Source, God, the higher self. Chapter 7. The Self. The self is merely a thing, it is more like an illusion or a figment of the soul, a mere projection of any spirit at its present state of being and, or can be likened to a specific shape and form that Source chooses to experience through an individual, circumstance, place or thing in a particular moment. As it consistently seeks change, that is, to expand through personal experiences, and it only exists differently in individual minds, within different experiences. The self is experienced as being separate from other beings in the outside world, whereas inside, the soul knows we are all one, my energy serves to balance yours, and the other way around as well, my life is equal and important as well as purposeful as anybody else's. It is as though, all just a cycle of essence and energy extrapolated and focused into its physical counterpart, so it can fully reach out for experiences and other souls of its needs, to expand and heal, become whole in the fullness of all that it is. Before we began to experience the self we went through a layer of discovering our presence, a layer that most currently don't believe or even know still exists within us, which is the inner depths of who we are, our essence and energy, that is now in focus to reach the fullness and fruition of its individual counterpart. Before the self, is the observer and the guider of the self, which is the inner being, and before the inner being, is the conscious, the no say but I know part, and behind, steering the conscious is the soul. So in order the self is far from the core, which means even the self has no full capacity to steer the soul alone, it in fact always needs the guidance from the inner being, who holds the same perception about everything as the soul. The self is the identity or the story you have about yourself, and all of the components that make all of it, the values, beliefs and perceptions you have about yourself and realizations to who you fully are. The self is like the caterpillar and the soul is the butterfly, and the alignment of these, the realization that we are in a process of metamorphosis is the most liberating experience in life. The merging of God's perception of everything with your perception of the pieces of each individual manifestation and experience is the state where the inner being lies, peacefully waiting for you to receive God's perception of this odyssey. Your inner being is your inner verse, inner voice, inner life and inner experiences from the point of spiritual existence, conception, birth to the end of it, where a newer version arises. Chapter 8. The Inner Being. The inner being is the core being of your presence. The second stage of evolution of the soul occurs at the inner being level. The inner being is your most decent, peaceful, appreciative, balanced, conscious and awakened state of being, before the mind starts to take over. It is the observer and receiver of this physical manifestation of reality and also the co-creator, who, that, serves us by being in consistent play with the non-physical dynamics and forces that wrestle with our focus and well-being on a daily and momentary basis. It is through the inner being that we receive spiritual insights and impulses of what to do in this physical realm. The inner being is only accessed when the mind is peaceful and the body at ease, usually happens when we are young and getting into states of wonder, but now most of us as we grow we tend to shift more to states of worry than of wonder. This is what creates a misalignment or a discord between mind, body, soul connection, and awareness of the dynamics that occur on a soul-level perception of the physical manifestations and experiences. This then causes confusion as to what is the person supposed to do or go in life, or can even lead one to lose their compassion, happiness, peace and prosperity. This then leads to the ego taking control of the body instead of the self, even though the soul is still in control of its play and part. It is like how we control our actions and decisions or choices, yet we are still bound by the breath of God every moment. Now the gap between the ego and the soul is the self, the chooser, the perception center of our being. Many people confuse the ego and the self for one and the same thing. It is actually two different states of being. The self values the soul, spirit, creator, and the ego values the physical, reflecting, life that presumably has to end, and therefore become attached to it, which is one of the reasons why people who operate on a ego level suffer emotionally and are way off radar spiritually. The inner being is never separate from the soul, but the self often is if controlled by ego instead of the inner being. So in order, it is first the soul, followed by the inner being, then the self, followed by the ego, the emotionally, logic-influenced, and lower conscious developed, most outsourced, externalized version of your being. The ego only exists because of the self in the mind. If the self is influenced and dependent upon the outer environment to take decisions and to launch desires and intentions, then it creates a cocoon called ego using whatever means necessary. The self should not dwell in the mind but in the heart of hearts. Wise man words. Nevertheless, all of that is just a more extrapolated version of the operational states of being, of the human psyche system, in order. The soul is the driver of this experience and not even the mind can control the soul. Only the inner being can receive impulses from the soul, and if you allow, if the self is awakened, the mind can pick up or receive very specific impulses from the inner being. It is a spiral-like cycle that grows into fullness or fruition of whatever that is being focused upon priorly. But it all starts at the core of the experience, the purpose of the soul to come into this physical trial, to co-create reality it originally desired, before even birth, and to expand the fullness of all that it is. Chapter 9. The Vortex. The vortex is our energy field, and everything we need initially and going forth towards more expansion and co-creation with Source. Carved out uniquely for everyone to everything. To acknowledge one's vortex is the beginning of all knowledge, wisdom, and resultantly a deliberate creating of life experiences. When you tap into this level of reality, you start to observe everything from Source's points of view, being you. Hence the subtitle to the book is Boiling It Down to the Source. So that you can become more connected to your purpose and pursuit for life. That is, when you are fully aware of your vortex and maintaining the connection with Source. It is hard to explain it in global sense, and this is because it is supposed to be a personal, visceral experience. Your vortex will not look and more importantly feel like another person's at any given point in time. But then individuals do balance one another's perceptions through what each has in their vortexes. If my vortex matches with yours, we are going to move together and carry out a specific purpose but differently as our vortex carry different structure of same energies. So we are always going to find a need to assist one another time and again. Whether we are engaging in construction or destruction, our vortexes aka our individual vibrational reality or emotional well-being is what helps Source to shift and sort out individuals to specified circumstances based upon their indicated vortexes. In other words, Source never judges man. He can only assist where and however he sees suitable. All we do down here is to choose the paths and plays we partake in. Our collective vortex can be likened to an imaginary field of energies that individuals push out, from a single point of concentration to a broader range. That is why it seems like an ever-current Big Bang. It is rather more or less of a projection of light, in weight, width and density, forces, energy. The more weight, width and density the more visible it is to man, and the less weight, width and density then the more visible it is to Source, so we can conjure up as in like it is the snapshot that Source is looking through to identify us. When you become familiar with the idea of this vortex and can fully develop an effective imagery that is unique and understandable to you, then it becomes visceral in your experience. To some, when you let the imagery go off and fade in and about your subconscious, things usually fall back down until you discover where you lost it, and therefore develop it again so that at one point you realize that it is who you are spiritually. Then you are allowed to use it to your advantage. And then to become a component that is working for another person's vortex, whereas you can always develop a sufficient one to help yourself through. The dynamics behind how this vortex plays out in relation to others is broad, as in micro-macro. It gets, and goes, deep. It can be likened to a coil that keeps expanding on one end to infinity, non-physical and beyond, from spirit. Like a tree, what we need to understand in this third-level dimension is only that, the bigger you feel, you deserve, the more components, that is, thoughts and emotions there is to play with, or at least an impact, to be involved. The broader the perspective as a result of the experiences. That is why people who are afraid, resistant of feeling, no matter the case, are the most fragile. And those that rely on their feelings as guidance become more strong and enlightened about life as an experience. When you have more to give, then it means your vortex is full, and when it is ready to pop, then you will just find yourself being the most inspired, self-actualized, helpful, motivational, busy person you will ever meet in life. Our vortex is our own unique individual reservoir of energies, of inspiration, motivation, and creativity. It is our spiritual fingerprint in the eyes of Source, aka the spiritual governor or authority of life. The best way to know yourself is to feel and look into your vortex, and see what you have to offer and what you would love to manifest with your life. To see your capabilities and to know exactly how you are meant to live your life with ease, no resistances, is to look and feel into your vortex. Humans have developed a couple of ways to do this practice, and in the following is the points that give you exactly the idea of what your own vortex holds for you. And these following principles, laws of nature and practices will help you to dive more deeper to see all that is within and to help you carve out the important and ones that need your immediate attention for them to materialize, and for you to use and enjoy. For your own good and that of all of nature too in this present moment without necessarily changing and controlling anything or anyone. How to fully access your vortex. Meditate and clear your headspace every often. Embrace love and be compassionate. Learn and understand the law of attraction, all laws of nature for that matter. Learn and understand all basic, fundamental laws of nature and the whole universe. Become the greatest version of yourself now and forever. Think in terms of frequencies, vibrations and energies like the genius Nikola Tesla proclaimed. Do good and be good for all, let go of expectations and limitations. Know that you are a creation but also the Creator himself, itself. Seek for the truth within yourself through desires and experiences. Write down everything that is important in your life as of now, moving forward. Let go of past experiences and attachments, period. Chapter 10. Tuning in. Tuning in is being in alignment or having a sense of clairvoyance to what you are currently focusing and working on manifesting in your reality, whether by default or deliberately. And those who know how to properly, with intention, tune in can experience the life of their wildest dreams and can fulfill their needs and wants better and quicker way more than those who cannot or partially do time and again. What we are tuning to exactly is what is called frequencies. Frequencies are a packet of layers of thoughts, ideas, like sounds and imageries. These frequencies can be likened to layers of paint from stronger to weaker. The higher the frequency, the less cloudy it is. The lower the frequency, the more cloudy, dense it is. For example, when an individual tunes into a high-frequency range, they develop high-quality ideas and thoughts easily than when they are thinking at a low-frequency range. So basically, how frequent you think of anything is how frequent it is going to occur in your life experience, from a micro and eventually to a macro level, from above to below, from spirit to matters, whether you are aware, know it or not. Wise man, Seneca, in the Stoic Philosopher's Occult once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." That is the angle he was presenting this idea at. Actually, when you are thinking at a low frequency range, then you cannot possibly receive good ideas, in general. Mainly because those kinds of ideas parlay in the high frequency range. So to hack your way into a high frequency, that is to vibrate highly, to have more effortless effort, more energy, more life, more flow, more clarity, is to use your instruments, tools, spirit, mind and body wisely, to help you to vibrate high enough to attract those ideas to you instead. In this case, you will have to feel as best as you can and then try to think of an idea to work on and watch what happens. The higher you vibe, the easier it will be to make connections to high quality ideas and emotions, creating a momentum to help you to move up to even better ones and so on. That is why people who do hard things or are living a hard life do not give up easily and are usually the strongest. It is because they have built up enough momentum to stay in a frequency range that is beneficial to their current circumstances. This applies also in the downstream of the low frequency range. It can only get you lower and lower, especially the less vibe you have, or the less deserving of all the goodness that life has carved out for you uniquely, you feel, desire, to attain. For example, if you don't become who you know for sure deep within you were meant to be and impact the world as, the person whom life has caused you to desire with compassion to become, then you will forever, just based upon natural selection and laws of the universe, stoop at a very low quality life. When you are not vibrating highly, for example if you don't feel great, or do not love and have faith in oneself, you become susceptible to low frequency range circumstances, which involves and invites all kinds of possibilities of poverty, limitations and lack. So in order to tune in right, or properly, one has to cultivate a self-awareness that is sufficient enough to let you know and become aware of the person you're becoming when you think and do certain things, so that you can then learn to become specific in relation to what is in your vortex, to help yourself to know and become whom Source carved you out to become, and to bless the world with your gifts and talents with ease. Instead of pulling against negativity for just becoming who you truly are. It is not worth it, and even your Source knows it. It is all in the vortex airing for your acknowledgement. Tune in properly. Know your energies, vibrations and frequencies that you truly resonate with and stick to that. Use them as leverage. Use this resonance practice every often to help you to tune in deliberately to the ideas that Source carved out specifically for you to embody and live out. To anyone who is going to do this practice, just know that it is the only way in and out. We do it whether consciously or subconsciously every moment of every hour of every day. Sometimes just not in the right mannerisms, so this then cause life to reflect those airs back to us, in order to cleanse and move on from. Stay happy and trust Source to serve you the meal that you came here forth to experience and indulge in. Although many likened this life to a game, those who have the slightest idea of what is going on within and without, those that do know may liken it to an ever-current adventure of hide and seek between you and the Father, till infinity and beyond. The end. Outroduction. This book generally should be packed with a lot of insight which the author omitted throughout a long period of editing and proofreading, but the main point that most of the insights are not included in here is for the purpose of allowing individuals that read to cultivate a strong sense and foundation for their imagination faculty around these ideas because they are fundamentally important to understand for a holistically functioning mind and body, and a well-integrated ego, personality soul connection. This book should be read with an open mind and most of the insights should be meditated upon before put into practice whether mentally or physically. About the author. Hippie XY is the incognito version of THAPELO DIPS DIPUDI, whose life mission is driven by the desire to help individuals to attain a certain level of emotional intelligence and spiritual well-being so that we can then allow our mind and heart to be open enough to receive a purpose of life as individuals. He has made appearances on the YouTube platform and other video platforms sharing his esoteric insights, wisdom and other spiritual tools like manifestation tips to help individuals deal with their daily lives more harmoniously by touching on the importance of understanding of the laws that govern our lives. This is his first work in the book industry prior to finishing college as an electrical engineer, but sooner found his love for writing as something that was gifted, guided towards his consciousness by God, following and being in cooperation with the laws that govern our lives. His work will inspire you. For more info, hippiedippy701@gmail.com.